All right, everyone. It's Friday, so it must be another Q&A with Alan and Marshall show. And this week, we've added some class to our show, I think.
Absolutely.
So, Alan, why don't you do us a favor and introduce your friend?
Well, and your friend too. I am so excited on this. This is the world-renowned Miss Heather Steible from Replica Screenprinting in Cave City, Kentucky. And man, she has pretty much, I think, since I first met you, I don't know, 6 years ago, you have pretty much put Cave City back on the map.
We're trying.
And doing great. And, you know, your journey, I have been so excited to have you on. So, Heather, thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, so much that I'm still in Chicago, and I am broadcasting from the lovely Four Point Sheraton in Buffalo Grove, Illinois.
Don't give them a shout out.
With the incredible lighting. This is not podcast friendly lighting in this room, but that's okay.
So all right, so thanks so much, Heather, for being on the show. And as you know, we want people to ask questions, so if somebody out there is watching, you'll answer their question, right?
Sure, no problem.
And so it's a Q&A show, and we love for you, if you're watching right now, to do us a favor and share that you're watching. That's how we build our audience. But also make sure you sign in and say hello. We want to know where you're watching from. We want to know what city, you know, what you're doing, whatever. I know some people like to listen while they're, you know, embroidering or whatever they're doing. I know several people that do that. So just say hello. That's all we want you to do. And then you can go back to whatever you're doing. And of course, we want to say hello to some folks. So, Richard says, hello, Heather. Long time no see.
Hello.
Lakeisha says, hey, y'all. Sean says, good afternoon, everyone. Love the hair. Don't get excited, Alan and Marshall. I was talking about Heather's hair. That's right. Nobody loves my hair.
I don't know if I have hair anymore, so that's okay.
Yeah. By the way, Sean, I was in Alpharetta a couple days ago, and it was too busy to call, but what a great town you live in. Really was impressed. Lakeisha says, watch it from Omaha. Michael Gums, hey there. Ray's like, hey, the dimmer the light, the better, believe me.
Thank you. I just clicked it off. Thank you very much, Ray, from Avian.
And then Glenn, hey, y'all, from Kansas City.
From Rico? All right.
Looks like your mom's watching.
The mom.
The mom.
And Christy from Jersey's is watching. So
hey, Christy, how you doing?
Be tuning in today because I told her you were going to be on the show.
Yay.
We were actually just in the Atlanta area filming. So I was hanging out with her and the film crew all week, and mentioned that you were doing the show. And we're actually going to get into the whole deal about being on the show here in a minute. But so thank you, Christy, for everything that Jersey's does. Really appreciate you. I got all choked up. So anyway, so thanks for watching, everyone, and really appreciate you guys. Be sure to ask questions and stuff once we get into the show. So why don't we pay some bills real quick, and then we can get into some things. What do you think?
I think so. We always want to, don't forget GSG. They're a great sponsor. We're excited to be with them for another year. So absolutely.
Yeah. So let's run the commercial, and then we can get into some cool stuff. Here we go.
Sounds good.
GSG, the combination of over half a century of knowledge with industry-leading technology and the customer at the center of everything that we do. Graphic Solutions Group is a powerhouse distributor of traditional screen, sign, wide format digital printing, embroidery, and textile decorating. We are committed to our customers, providing support, educational, and consulting services. Your success is our success. We've seen these industries grow and change in our 70 years. One thing never changes. GSG's dedication providing the best products and services available. We've been around, we'll be around, from the highs and the lows, standing right here with you. GSG, the right products, right away.
Awesome. We're back.
We're back.
All right.
So let's kick it off, but just let's start talking about your shop. So why don't you give everybody kind of the gist of what you guys do there in Cave City, Kentucky?
Well, we are a woman-owned, family-owned shop. I've co-owned Replica now going on 8 years with my mother. My background was litho, flexo printing, and then somehow I ended up in screen printing. So it's been a wild ride for sure, but we are more of a high-end, I think, printer compared to some of the others in our area. So that's kind of what we try to excel in.
Great, right. And how many employees, square footage, equipment, talk about all that, because everybody always wants to know those things.
Yeah. So we have 5 people that work in the shop, my mother and I, and then my brother-in-law works with us. My dad used to work with us. Alan knows him as the dad.
The dad, Randy.
And then we have 2 more employees, Christina and Elliot.
Right.
We have
The jokester.
Yes, he very much so. We have 1 manual and a Diamondback auto, and we just got a new Dowfit CTS machine. Super excited to have that, kind of stepping up our game here. So yeah.
Good. Love it. And so anybody has any questions about any of that, throw them in the comments. And you're also in not a gigantic city, right? And
no, we are in a very small town. It's Cave City, so we're like the gateway to Mammoth Cave. If you don't know what Mammoth Cave is, it's one of the largest cave systems in the world. It's one of the wonders of the world. And so we are a small shop, but we ship shirts all over the US and the world. So yeah.
Right. Cool. So
I'm going to put a plug. Everybody needs to go to Mammoth Caves. It is an incredible experience to go in there on the tour and stuff. I've done it. Yeah, it's incredible.
So Simon's here. He's at the Multicraft Grand Opening in Schaumburg.
Yes.
And James Ryan Davis says, hi, Heather. And looks like James caught a really big fish.
Looks like a steelhead.
He's in our BLDG group in our Cars and Coffee event. So
yeah, great.
Okay.
And Tony Hayes says, hey.
The brother-in-law.
Right. And then another Ray's here. So
Ray Grange.
Yeah. So let's talk about being on the Adventures in Apparel. Oh, and before we do that, I want to show this, right? I want to show this awesomeness. So there's a video of Heather breaking a weightlifting world record, right?
Yes.
So I want you to look at how intense she is. Watch this. She's getting psyched up. Who are you talking with that? Is that your coach? Who is that?
That's my coach, Nathan. Yeah.
How much are you deadlifting here?
It's about 353. It was a huge PR that day.
That's just awesome.
Yeah. I'm a little intense.
Yeah, a little intense.
You're allowed to be.
That is just incredible. And so compare the dedication and focus that you have in weightlifting for how you've done your business, right? Because I think you've got the same intensity and focus.
You were very intentional, Heather. When I met you, you had just bought the business and you were very intentional on changing, just going, okay, I've worked in a print shop, but I want to know the correct way to do that. And you were very intentional to seek out how to do that.
That's one of the very first things when we took over Replica, because like my screen printing, I ran the shop for about 6 years, but I never screen printed. And I kind of just like was all or nothing. But that's the first thing I told Mom when we bought the shop. It's like, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. So I'm going to seek out classes and try to surround myself with the best in the industry. And that's what's helped me tremendously to get me through where I am today.
Somehow she got sidetracked and met us, Marshall. I don't know how that is.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Yeah. But she's done a really good job and of finding people to mentor her and ask questions to. And I've talked to her and her mom a bunch, and I think it's good. So, all right. So
and a lot of slow changes. Changes aren't always easy when you're, especially in the technical end. I remember talking to you guys in a seminar and that's how the term "the dad" came, because he was in charge of reclaiming and coding, and she was in a seminar I was teaching on reclaiming and coding, and she goes, "I'm all in." She goes, "I don't know how the dad will do." I'm like, "The dad?" And I'm like, "Oh gosh." I thought the mom was the one I had to get around. So a few weeks later, there's a show in Indianapolis that the dad's coming. So he came up and introduced me, and I go, "I'm the dad." He goes, "What did you tell her to do?" All right, here it is.
Yep.
So
it's all worked out.
Yeah, it's worked out great. But you know what? It's not just me. She is, you've actually had the late great Joe Clark in your shop. Working with you.
He was a mentor, yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Greaves, you've talked with Greg Kitson, was huge. I happened to be there with Greg on stuff, and we, just piggybacked in with Marshall, and so and it's been a slow grow. It's, you've scaled some, even though you say it's only a manual and only an automatic, but you have made the upgrades when the time comes. And sometimes I know you've wanted to do it sooner, but you have scaled very, very methodically and correctly.
Yeah, it's just, we really had to try to figure out, what steps we could do at the time and cost wise. And, we wanted a dryer first, but we needed a better exposure unit. And, it's taken a while, but we finally got all of the pieces in place now. So.
Right. And when you started,
it's a journey, so you're, and it's a continuous journey. We don't ever stop. Right. Yeah. So, no. I mean, I'm constantly learning. I'm always pushing stuff. Right. And so that's the only way you can get better, I think, is just to say, hey, what is this thing over here? Right. And goofing around with it. So,
and you, even in your customer base, you are an artist originally.
Yes.
And still doing incredible art. But I think in your customer base, you focused on your niches, the things you are passionate about.
Yeah. And that's what, all my mentors told me is like, you can still print the school stuff and you can still print, the business stuff, but you need to find your niche. And to me, it's easy to relate to. It's easy to talk to. It's easy to upsell when you live that life. So mine, when we first started out, was duck hunting. I love to hunt, and I had a huge niche in the duck market, and now it's lifting. So it kind of evolves as I evolve.
Yep. And we'll talk more on community and stuff, but then that got you, doing what you're doing. Like you said, you ship all over the world now. And all over the country.
So I have a dumb, silly question. When you duck hunt, like, does the hair get safety orange so you don't have to wear the hat? Or
yeah, no, I'm you can just see my eyes.
And I may or may not have a couple shirts of some incredible designs that I have in my collection.
Yeah.
So
So Mark's here from GSG. Says good morning.
Morning.
Chrissy's impressed. You get the 3 flexors there. Ray Greenway and I waved as we drove by the Corvette Museum 2 weeks ago.
You should have stopped.
Corvette Museum of South. You missed her then. Yeah.
And once upon a time, numerous shops' clients had 300-pound screens. You could have been a star there. So recently, I was in her shop for the Jersey's Adventures in Apparel Decorating show. Yes. And I'm not going to play the whole episode. I just wanted to just show you guys what that looks like, right? So here we are, and I've got my sound off, but where's the button? Here we go. And so this is, I'll just put this in a background here, but so we learned a lot about Heather and her shop, and Cave City is a really kind of a cool town. And that's the design that you were printing. Why don't you talk about that a little bit, and who did the art and all that stuff?
The art was done by Gary Rohn. I had been wanting to work with him for years, and this year our event had gotten big enough where I could afford to pay, where I didn't have to do the art. So he was great to work with. I kind of told him exactly what all I wanted to include in the art, and he came up with an amazing design. So I'm really excited to start selling them tomorrow.
Yeah, and it looks like a woodcut kind of.
Yeah, it's a wood etched design.
Right. There it is right there. In fact, I'm wearing the shirt right now. Really
yeah, you had to arm wrestle me for it.
That's right. And you kicked my butt.
You know what? So if people want to know, is she a customer of mine? Yes. What does she, does she get special pricing? I just give it to her out of fear. So, yeah.
So, yeah. So this is on the Jersey's YouTube channel, right? So that's where you can find it. And it's, how long is that? It's just under 13 minutes. But it's a really great episode, and we learned a lot, and it was a lot of fun.
It was.
And it was a fun fact is we did the wrap lunch right after that at the barbecue place in Cave City, and I just ordered, and there was a bunch of weather, and I had to immediately leave to get my flight. And if I didn't leave at that minute, I would have missed the flight. So, because I had to drive all the way back to Nashville to fly out. Right.
That's a pretty incredible barbecue place too.
I wish I could have had it. Right. I don't know. I'll never know who ate my lunch, by the way, because it's still
my husband. My husband thought it was delicious. He said, "Thank you."
Yeah. I'm so glad he got to eat it.
Yeah.
So talk about being on the show. What was that like?
Marshall, before we go in there, we have a question that I think she needs to answer first on technical. Glenn Shaw asked.
Okay.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
The decision to go to computer to screen. That's good. Good question.
So my printer was acting up. It was time. We had a CTS machine that we had gotten from another screen printer a while back, and it was like the first generation, and it didn't last very long. So we actually went back to film, and it was just time. That was the last piece of equipment really that we had that we really wanted, and it's made life so much easier. People are sitting on the fence on whether to go. I mean, the detail's better. Setup times on the press has cut way down.
Yeah,
and
no moire.
Yeah,
no pinholes.
No pinholes. It's it was a hard decision, but it was well worth it.
And here's a fun fact: nobody ever goes backwards. Nobody ever goes, you know what? I'm gonna go back to film. And go back to film, right? Except for you, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I know that first machine she had. I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, yeah. So maybe that doesn't count, right? So you wouldn't go from the machine you have back to film, right? That's what.
Oh gosh, no. It's a game changer.
Right.
And the important part too is, Marshall, because with any CTS, this is where service comes in, because the redundancy of having one CTS, it goes down, you're back to film.
Yeah.
So service from the company, no matter who it is highly important.
Right. And I'll tell you the thing that a lot of people don't think about. They think about just making the screens, but the impact on your time savings in production, it needs to be in that calculation, because you're going to set up times are faster. You don't have to have that mystery pinhole you got to worry about. All that stuff just really gets cleaned up. And so there's a huge end of the year productions output gain that you're going to get just from that part. Right. And would you agree, Heather?
For sure. And unfortunately, I mean, my guys hate it, but where we do more high end stuff, I mean, a lot of our jobs are 5 and 6 colors. So when you're trying to register them, I mean, we did have the tri-lock system before, but it's, almost automatic now. So.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's about.
All right, cool. So,
Great question.
all right. So William's here. Hey, Josh is here. Good morning, Josh.
Hey, Josh from Oklahoma.
Tony, you missed a good meal. Thanks. Glenn says thanks, and Hurley's here. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Right. I don't know about the gentleman part. I don't know if he's talking.
I don't know. Not talking about me. They're just very polite up there in Canada.
Yeah. So let's. Here you go. Lakeisha's got a question. So when you first started targeting the duck hunting market, did you make your own shirts and sell them?
Actually, no. I made shirts and gave them away. I came up with a really cool design, and there was a gathering that we go to every year. And so I just took all the shirts and gave them away. And the guys still wear them 6-7 years later. And they always, when they call me to place an order or to put in a new order, they're like, I want that shirt that you made us. And so, I mean, that was probably the best money I spent.
Yeah. So Lakeisha, she's a climber, right? She wants to do kind of a climbing brand. Maybe that's what she was targeting. That was just kind of how do you get it going?
Yeah. To me, it was especially you have to go to the events, and we end up in Reelfoot, Tennessee, at this hunting lodge and I'm, they're like, oh, you hunt? I'm like, yes. Do you make duck calls? No, I make t-shirts. You need duck calls to go with your t-shirts. So, and t-shirts with your duck calls. So.
And that's what I remember. It wasn't just duck hunting. It was even more specific within that space. It was duck calls were a lot of your business.
Yeah. Cause I would take the guys would send me photos of their duck dog and their hunting spots and their guns and their duck calls. And I would collage everything together, and that's what would go on the shirt.
Oh, so it was like a personal thing for them.
Yep.
So do they have like hunting clubs, like have a little lodge, skeet shoot off the back deck, kind of thing, or? No,
mainly the events and stuff that I would go to, it was a duck call show, like contest. So all the makers would bring their duck calls in and have a whole weekend event.
Yeah. So were the Duck Dynasty guys there with the beards?
We were duck call makers and hunters before those guys even.
Well, great question. Awesome.
Yes. Brian says, hello, everyone. I've been busy, so I'm late to stock my pay.
Brian, thank you so much for filling in for me last week while I was at the impression show. That was amazing.
Yeah, he did a great job. Right? Maybe we'll replace you.
I wouldn't blame you. I would not blame you in the least bit.
Yeah. So
what if I got a cool hat like him? Would that help?
You need a hat.
I'm starting to. Yeah.
Yeah. You need a cool hat. Right?
A cool fedora.
So Chris here says, we design and print a lot of gun-related clothing here, especially with the C21 build going full tilt. Don't know what that is, but there you go. I'm so busy with it, I don't have time to post. There you go. I guess that's a gun ban or gun restrictions probably or something. I don't know.
Make time to post, Hurley, Chris. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So we'll flip back to the adventures in apparel decorating kind of thing. I've been doing that all week. It's on my brain. We filmed 2 episodes this week, and but we had a really great time at Heather's shop. So from your perspective, Heather, why don't you share what it was like to be on the show and any impact you've had since it came out, all that stuff?
Well, I was just tickled to be asked, but it was intimidating because, I've done a lot of live things, but I've never had a production crew come in with cameras and lights. And I've learned that I do not want to, a thing in show business. but it was the coolest experience, just having you and everybody come in. My shop was cleaned from top to bottom because I wasn't going to be one of those screen printers that everybody came in and was talked about. But it was very intense, but I loved it.
You guys did such a great job.
Marshall, we never talk about shops we're in, do we?
Yeah, that's a lie.
When they're filthy and stuff like that.
After it came out, how did everybody in your shop think about the final episode? Because that they saw it being filmed, and then that was that's kind of like being an actor. And then did the movie look like what we did? Right, the reality of it. Right. What did everybody think?
Everybody was tickled. We laughed a little because if you haven't seen Marshall, I knew how tall Marshall was, but my brother-in-law is a little bit short, and so they come in and they put Tony on a box to stand. So we're never going to let him live that down. And they all really was shocked about how well it was put, not really shocked, but amazed how it was put together. And my group that we do the Cars and Coffee event, they were stoked. They gave me great feedback. So.
Good.
And that is funny when you see people in person, because Marshall is, always say you get that a lot. They don't realize, they know you're tall. They don't realize how tall you are.
Like I go to a trade show, I hear that at least a dozen times.
And when I'm, people have met me because I'm not short, but then when I'm with you, it's like Marshall's 3 inches taller than I am. So, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a thing, right? And but it's good. And so we had so much fun at your shop, and so we've been doing them for large shops, and I really appreciate going into one that's smaller with just a couple of people, and because it's kind of like the difference between I don't know, chocolate and fudge, or like coffee or like Colombian coffee, right? So it's like because it's just more intense,
Right.
when you've got a gazillion autos and everybody just does their thing. But when it's a smaller shop, it's really super focused, right? And it's lots of fun to see that, right? So, and anyway, so tell us about the Cars and Coffee event that the show was filmed around, because not everybody knows what that's about, because the design is behind you,
Yes.
And this is also another part of your niche and all that of community and stuff, which how your business has grown.
Yeah. So we have Cars and Coffee is a nationwide event, and it's basically all these car guys get together in the mornings, talk about cars, and drink coffee. And our Cars and Coffee is like if a cruise in and a Cars and Coffee had a baby. We have lots of music. We have music. We have cars. We bring in food trucks. We serve lots of different. I've got some guy peeking in the window. But it's an morning event. It runs from 8 in the morning until 11, and then everybody goes home. But we have roughly about 250 cars minimum, and I think during our Jeep invasion we had about 500. So it takes over the town. We shut everything down, and it's a cool event.
And cars drive in from like a distance, right? It's not just some local guy with a thing in his garage. I mean, it's
no. A lot of our guys are from different, surrounding areas. But our first events, it runs from April to October, and I've had a couple of guys from Michigan say that they're coming down this year. So we bring in. We're really trying to focus this year on having people stay over and come and hang out with us, and then go enjoy the cave and just make a day of it.
Good. All right. So
you're also working within the community because, and if I'm speaking too soon, we'll change subjects. But Heather, like I know Cave City from we talked about as a kid, where Mammoth Cave was a must stop and see, and you're bringing Cave City back on with Cars and Coffee. And Marshall and I were talking. It's been a few years since I've been there. That it's really the town's really growing up. Of course, incredible barbecue. I've been to that place with you. But now there's also Wigwam Village that you're working with.
Yeah, so we have
Which for me, growing up, like my family's from Alabama, we would drive down, and my mom remembers Wigwam Village was always just a must stop when when they were going down. So I'm glad to hear this stuff.
Yeah, I think, our town was a huge tourist destination years ago, and it's kind of fallen off. And so we started getting new businesses and people coming in with businesses that had like-minded ideas like myself, a younger generation, I guess you could say, that wanted to band together. And so we started a business leader development group, BLDG, and that's it's just made up of a lot of Cave City surrounded businesses that just want to grow our town back. And so the people that have bought the Wigwam Village, they've been coming in and they're restoring each wigwam. And I think, there's going to be lots of stuff, happening. We have, it's really cool that here lately, a lot of the businesses that have been coming to town are women owned. So it's really cool to see all of these women, empowering other business owners. And so it's a great event.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So Dan's here. Cindy just joined us. Good morning,
Hey,
Cindy.
Cindy.
Good to see you again. And then Chris says, Alan, didn't you once say that shops that aren't busy post, while shops that are busy don't post?
Not true.
You said that.
I didn't. I said I did say it, but I'm going to walk it back. No, I didn't. Here's what I said. I go, shops that post. We were talking on Facebook pages. There are people that just troll on it all the time, and just 24/7. And you see them who they're on there. Well, they're not doing anything. How do they get the time? Posting is different when you're talking about that. When it's marketing, it's intentional. It's pointed.
Yeah.
So make sure you still share. So that's let's not confuse the two.
It's a good clarifier point.
Yeah.
And,
but thank you for calling me on that.
Yeah. And he loves flying on coffee. So you need to do an airplane version of that, Heather, right there.
Yeah.
We're in Arizona. I live here in Mesa. So
flying in coffee.
Ray says, I've been to Cars and Coffees in several states. Awesome gig. Right. And then Brian says, we do Bikes, Wings, and Warriors. It's a motorcycle show, chicken wing cook-off.
Oh, very cool.
For the local VFW. These events are great for communities. Yeah, great.
Awesome. Love it when businesses get involved in their community on there. It's just the coolest thing.
Right. It is cool. All right. So let's pay some bills and talk about the GSG Pulse. Get that fired up here. So today we want to talk about ink, and Heather is a customer of GSG. What do you buy from GSG, Heather?
We buy all of our Wilflex pigment inks. We do a lot of custom matched colors at the shop. So
and you buy your white ink from them. You buy your white ink from them too, correct?
Yes. Yeah. We use a lot of cool white.
So as a customer, why are you using GSG? Because there's probably other people you can be buying from.
Well, with them, it's just, I know it's usually in stock, and the shipping is really, quick, and they just have a huge, supply to offer. So I know anything that I'm looking for, I can get through them.
Yeah. And so we wanted to share the Pulse today. This is all ready for use, and you're using the pigment, so it's a little slightly different. But please scan this QR code, and you can get the color card, and give GSG a call about getting ink or other supplies for them. And this is the Pulse magazine, which is got a bunch of ideas and deals and all kinds of stuff. And we'd love for you to go. Just go to gogsg.com. And they'll help you out.
Heather, do you have the IMS system on your computer, the match system? Do you have it on your phone too? I guess it's available on your phone now too. I just saw.
Yeah. No, I usually just do it on my computer and print off things.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a must-have, because now it's all the Avian stuff and all the inks and stuff. So that's pretty cool.
And it's really good that if you do have an issue, like, sometimes I can't get a color to match exactly right. They're just a phone call away.
Right.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and Chris says, by the way, he's been printing gun stuff for 3 weeks, and Facebook and Instagram are flagging the photos, so he gave up.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Chris. Well, yeah. All right,
Well,
cool.
stick to teddy bears and babies. Maybe we'll post it. I don't know.
Yeah, jeez. Have you tried on the Emma system the recycle feature?
No, I haven't.
That's a good feature. So you
It's
could,
a
like,
great
for
feature.
example, you've got a half a bucket of 186 red, and you want to make 202 burgundy. It'll say, hey, you can put 200 grams of this in, and then you don't have to use the pigment. So you'll save a bunch of money. And I used to, the shop I ran, we would use 20 to 25% of our inks were mixed from other ink. And it doesn't work all the time because you got to have the right thing, you know.
Right.
But it's a really great way. And if you think about a lot of people's ink libraries, that could be $50,000 to $60,000 worth of stuff sitting on the shelf.
Yep.
And, you know, if you're using 25% of that, right, that could be a significant savings in purchasing,
Absolutely.
which is what we did. And we calculated that we saved about $10,000 or $12,000 a year by doing that. So
I was at a shop and we were talking about it, and they said, yeah, they just got it and just started using it. And they said, yeah, we had like this color. It was like a peach type color that, you know, they ever made. And so we kind of put that in, and I must said, oh, here's how to use this to make this one and add this and this, and bada bing, away they go. So it's very cool.
Everyone at Glenn has to leave. So see you, Glenn.
Mr. Shaw, you have a great week, man.
All right. So what were we going to talk about next? I forgot what it was. It was, family business, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of you, right, and also a lot of our viewers, it's a family business. So you're working with your wife, your husband, your kids, your mom, your brother-in-law, your dad. I mean, the cousins, everybody's pitching in to make the thing work, right?
Yeah.
So that could be a really awesome thing, but sometimes I bet it's like, you're having dinner that night and they're still talking about something, and it's like, will you just shut up? Let's leave it at work, right? So how do you maintain sanity with around everybody all the time? I think that's kind of a cool thing to talk about here.
Yeah. Lots of alcohol. No, I'm joking. I think what makes us work is, I mean, I kind of said in the series that we did was you have to kind of find your own lanes. So that way, you know, you're the master of your domain. So mom's not going to be doing graphics. Lord help us if she did. But I'm also the one, you know, entering everything into QuickBooks.
You're not doing accounting.
No. And, you know, it's not that I couldn't learn, but it's her lane. And, you know, it's that way we're not at each other all the time. And then, you know, with having my brother-in-law here, it's, you know, we just work it out. Mom's the enforcer because I have my dad's temper. And so, you know, sometimes I say, you know, I'm probably not the best manager, but because I get so intense sometimes.
We've seen the intense Heather look, right?
Yeah.
We just watched the Facebook post with that.
And
I don't want that angry with me. I mean, oh my gosh.
So I usually let mom handle any issues in the shop. But no, it's working with family is great because you know that at the end of the day, nobody's going to have your back more than your family.
Right.
But then it can be really intense. I love telling the story. It's like, especially, and I don't even know if my mom was here full time yet because she thought when we took over the business that she would just get to come in and work on the shop on the weekends. And probably 6 months she had to quit her full-time job to come work with us full-time. But I'd say that one of my favorite stories is me and my dad. He was the screen printer at the time. We were working and we got into it over something. And he was like, I'm your father. And I'm like, not till 4 o'clock, you're not. And I ran out the door and we had this gigantic red door and I slammed it and I went and had margaritas for lunch. I was like, I just got to get away. But, you know, I knew though, that I could count on my dad anytime that I need him. And I still can. If we have a huge job, I can call him at the drop of a hat.
And
That's great.
Randy is such a great guy. The dad. We just lost Marshall. That's right. I have controls. Randy's such a great guy. You can see the toughness on him, but he was very much dialed into what the changes you were making. So
I don't know
welcome
why
back,
it's
Marshall.
happening.
I don't know. I said Marshall's gone, but don't worry, I have controls. So
yeah,
we're still there.
By the way, I was trying to click on the fact that Nancy's here, right? So
Nancy's so good to see you. So people that don't know Nancy was in charge of marketing and product for Wilflex for many years. Retired,
legendary Nancy,
legendary, and then of course her husband Greg. Still with Aviant, and I knew Greg way back when. I remember when he became the rep for a company I was working for, the Wilflex rep for us. I don't remember him. He remembered me from like the 80s and 90s because he worked for another distributor, and he knew me from Wilflex conferences. So
right.
Yeah, great people. So Nancy, good to see you.
Yeah. Well, great. So what else about running a family business? Is there a tip or a trick? Because I know like a lot of people here that they do that, right? And so just kind of I know from how I've always thought about it is like, just leave business at work, so when you go home at night, you don't like you don't talk about that order or that customer or whatever. It's just like, hey, we'll deal with it in the morning. Do you guys have that type of thing? Or do you just like, it's just nonstop?
Well, sometimes it's nonstop. I'm usually busy. So, it's usually at the end of the day, I'm going and lifting up while mom goes home and does her own thing. So, it's not constant talk because it's not like I'm working with my husband,
right.
But it's sometimes hard for like my husband when we do get together for families. It's like we're usually talking shop, and he's like, "Can you stop?" And it's so me and mom try to have girl days where we just go and do something and not talk about the shop.
Oh, that's awesome.
Good. Yeah. So like my son, he's done some shirt lab stuff, and my wife's kind of in the industry, and like, hey, so and so, we're doing a thing. Do you want to go? And it's like, are you going to talk T-shirts? I'm like, I'm sure we're talking that. It's like,
yeah,
no, thank you. we hear you enough talking about it. We don't need to hear it more, right? So
yeah, my husband finds it funny. He's like, how can you talk about T-shirts and screen printing for hours? Because that's my favorite thing to do is get together with screen printers and just talk shop. And it's 3 hours later. He's like, how do you do it? I'm like, well, it's like you talking about guns. I said, it's just that's what your passion is, and you just
absolutely
get right. Yeah, that's great.
And if you're not in the circle, other people, they just don't get it.
Yeah, right. And so, by the way, Brian says, not about work. Is that really possible? Myra and I talk shop all the time.
You're better people.
Yeah. So, and Nancy says, by the way, she misses us. So
I miss you too, man. So great people.
Cool. Hey, we got one topic left, and that is going to be more about community involvement, right? And I think the angle here that I'd like to explore is, you're doing it, of course, because you're passionate, you want to see your community grow, right? But it comes back to you in the form of business and that kind of stuff sometimes. So I think one of the things that I've talked about is you have to be present to win, and you have to show up, and you have to get and do things and volunteer and whatever, right? And I think that's really super important. I do that myself, and I know Alan does that. And so kind of talk about that a little bit about how you see that and, what you do there.
Yeah. I love to be involved in everything. And sometimes it's hard because you don't know when to say no.
Absolutely.
So I just try to find things that make me happy along with making others happy. And so that's, with our whole BLDG group and the whole Cars and Coffee, we have thousands of people that come into our town. So, they know I'm the president of the group. So, that helps. And it helps being in the moment and, being in front of people all the time. Because then I get stopped all the time saying, "Oh, I know you. How are you doing, Heather?" And I had no clue who they are.
Yeah.
It's, because I just so much. And it's like, I'm great, but
well, it's not like you don't have an anonymous look either.
yeah. I went to a concert and I was in the paper and I was like, a picture this big, and they're like, "I see Heather." I'm like, "You can't miss me." There, because it's two colors right now.
Yeah.
So,
is that your favorite combo, by the way? Like the pink
I
and
don't
the
know.
blue?
I did this for the competition. It is my favorite colors, so it changes. I think the last time you were here, it was purple. So
Right.
it changes often.
And you do that yourself, or you go see somebody?
No, I do it all myself. Yeah, but I think you have to be up front and center, and you just have to select what you want to do and what makes the most impact for you and your community.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I totally agree. So I've done leadership stuff with, SGP, with SGIA, with, and now I'm doing some academy stuff, right? Just marketing. And I think it's really important that you get involved and do things when you have time. For 5 or 6 years, I was involved in Promo Kitchen, which is a thought leadership group for the promo industry. And you get to the point where, you get involved and you got to like pass it on to other people. You can't just do it forever. Right. And so I think it's important to do that. And it's important to show up and then, you widen your circle of friends, you learn different things. I mean, I think I probably have learned more from getting involved than I ever would have by not getting involved. Right. And so it's just how to do different things. Right. And I think it's important. So, what do you think, Alan? You're kind of quiet.
Just listening and all that. I was thinking about the stuff that, like you said, of that I've been involved in. You go 5, 6 years into it, and then there's a time you need a break. It can get a little stagnant, and you start almost feeling like you're spinning the wheels. And Heather, I'm like you. I want to be involved in everything. And when I was younger, I tried to be, and that can get old real quick because then you start forgetting the main thing is that keeping the main thing that we do. And then, we all need our downtime, to relax and stuff. But I think there's always something to be involved in. And when it's time to say no, this is where it's still leadership in there going, who do I pass the baton to? Who keeps that going if it's worth it? So, what does a good leader do? You're training your replacements somewhere. So you start watching that. But anytime I try to take on something going, okay, what do I have to let go of to do that? So, I don't want to say there's always a time to end it, but there sometimes is. Marshall, like you, I've been involved in stuff with SGIA, and there's a lot of years on a committee chaired by Greg Hitson and then Lon Winters and stuff. And when it came time for me to leave, it was not an easy decision. It was conversations with Lon and Justin Lawrence, who were the co-chairs, and and sometimes I still was the right decision. But it has been. But now, like I said, there's a new one. I work with Academy with you and the marketing thing and some other stuff. And there's still the stuff we do. We speak, we write. I've taken a little break from that, but I have 2 seminars in a couple of weeks, and when I do the self plug, I just heard that I have 85 signed up. I couldn't believe it because
where is that?
One Stop is a shirt supplier out of Michigan is doing one, and I brought out of the mothballs an oldie but goodie. Printing better whites. I've got to dust that off and update it. As of last Monday, there was only 40. I got a call yesterday. They said it's 85 now.
That's great.
I think that class.
Well, I think it's important to teach, right? I love teaching, and if you think back to, when I was in college, back when I was in my 20s, my whole game plan was to be a teacher. I wanted my kind of idea was to teach art in high school and coach football. That's kind of how I saw my life kind of working out. And didn't do that at all. So, because of life, we don't need to go down the reasons, but it was just one of those things, right? And
but you know what? I needed some time to break away from some stuff. Yeah, I saw that. And my question is, you know what? I hate Academy people being on here. They're just awful humans. So there's another one.
Yeah.
So exactly. I mean, I was just talking to Alex, my boss, going, I got to get with Avian and International Coatings because, inks have changed. I'm going to have to call Mark Soldonic and go and tell me what I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, the question with Ray Greenwood on there, I know he signed up. My question is, will he learn something finally? So, and there's a people in our academy. So yeah, in the academy with us. But
I skipped over John. So John's here too. He's on the road, but wanted to check in.
John from Black Dog in Richmond, Indiana, man. So yeah.
All right. Well,
but you know what? So on the involvement thing, I think we got to be. And then there's stuff I'm involved in outside of the industry, both internationally and stuff. And again, it's what are you passionate about and what do you do?
Well,
everything has a season.
I'm doing a workshop for FESPA on Monday.
Absolutely, which is so cool.
It's on sustainability, which is one of my things, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
I love it when people reach out. Hey, can you help us with this? I'm like, you bet. So
well, and I think Marshall and Heather, you're in there. Where how many? I know you've been in smaller groups from like offshoots of some of the things that I've taught in. That there are, you have a group of printers that you talk to, and you guys keep learning and keep sharing with other people, and that's what it's about. It's not just Marshall or me or Mark Soldonic know everything, but man, we want people to be passing this on. And
Here's a great question. Thank you, Lakeisha. Do you think that virtual events are as effective as in-person events?
No.
Well, here's my response to that. I think from an information standpoint, it's the same material, right? So there's a presentation, there's slides, there's a movie, there's a thing. You're gonna learn. You're taking notes. You probably can ask questions. The in-person event is always better because you're surrounded by some people that before the event, after the event, you can chit chat with them. There's networking. There's other things that are involved with that that I think it's better. We do our Shirt Lab event, right? We have a huge Shirt Lab virtual event in April coming up, Shirt Lab Summit. This weekend I'm building the marketing for. So it's going to be great. But the Shirt Lab live event is like 100 times better just because of going to a trade show is 100 times better. Going to like the classes like Greg Kitson used to put on 100 times better, right? Mm-hmm. And that's just because of the networking and the camaraderie and the tribe building with your peers. I think that happens. So that's kind of my kind of answer. What do you guys think about that?
I agree. I love going to classes and learning things, but I have learned more in the networking after hours than I ever did in the class. Just because, you start talking about problems that you're having or frustrations and, you've got all of these answers coming to, and it's just, a lot of times it can be the simplest things, but you just see something from a different point.
I agree. And I think when you're in person, there's two things. One, when you take the time to get out of your shop, your home and go in person on there, you have skin in the game. You're vested. So I think you're going to pay attention more too. And two, like you said, when you can get one-on-one with an instructor and someone else, well, now it gets into when I teach a printing better whites, there's a lot of broad brush stuff there to hit a lot of shops. And when, like when I met Heather, as we got talking more and more on the network, now we're narrowing down into her shop. Right. So, information is information. It's good, but it might not be the rifle approach for yours.
Right. So Tony says he agrees in person's best. he's heard of Shirt Lab, so the marketing must be good. Thanks,
Tony. You're with Toss. Where are you located at?
And he'll tell you in a minute. The best way to sell is face to face. You can make connections and sell yourself the fastest that way.
Yeah, and I think on teaching and stuff, it's always better in person. When you can see, because usually, I've done, and I think Heather, you've done seminars, seen some of the same ones that you've sat in on my seminars in person, and we've talked network, but you've also listened to them live and stuff, the same thing. And I can, when I have examples of shirts, I can show them on a camera, not the same as you're there touching, seeing it, feeling it.
No, not at all.
So before we run out of time, I want to share that Shirt Lab is having a workshop next week, next Thursday, right? And so I was sharing some information with, where's the thing? I left, so I have to reshare my.
Yeah. So while you bring that up, Shirt Lab's having an event, the summit and stuff on there, which, correct me if I'm wrong, which is free to sign up. If you are a tribe member, then you can watch that at any time, any place.
So this is all going to be all about Midjourney. So Michelle Moxley Ruby, she's the director of innovations for M&R. She's a pretty smart cookie, and she's been using Midjourney for a while. And this whole workshop is going to be about how to get started in Midjourney. And about an hour ago, Heather was like, "What is that?" And so what I did is I'm like, well, let me show you. And so here is my Midjourney gallery. And this is all these mandalas right here that I'm showing. This is what I was goofing around with this morning when I was drinking coffee. And these are all word prompt AI art driven things, right? And then she asked a great question, which was, would you use that? And here's an example. So with cars and coffee, I said, hey, give me a car. And she picked a 68 Mustang. California and special. I said, so let's give it some prompts, right? And of course, this isn't perfect, and Midjourney doesn't do words well or whatever. But could you use this as the basis for a shirt, Heather?
Yes, definitely.
And this took about, 30 seconds to render?
Yep.
So it's not perfect. It doesn't have like the perfect pony in the logo and whatever, but this is a great place to start. And in probably a little bit of time, you can make this in some fantastic artwork for a shirt. And it's really great for that. So what we're going to be talking about is using Midjourney, which is basically on a Discord channel. And this is my private server. So you can see these are the things that I've been goofing around with. This is kind of what we started with, and we upgraded it, right? And this is kind of how we got there, right? So here's the original prompts: Mustang, 1968, California Special, Street View, cinematic lighting, woodcut style illustration, graphic, colorful, fun. That's what we said. This is what we got back, right? This. And we picked this one down in the corner to kind of play around with, right? Your results can vary, right? So this is what we're going to be talking about in the workshop. Michelle's going to be giving us some really good tips. And, so how can you use this? What can you do? The sky's the limit. And to me, as an ex-art director, I am not intimidated by this. I am not thinking, well, this is going to replace me. My thinking is, how the hell am I going to use this? Right? What am I going to do with it? Right? Because to me, this is no different than using a calculator. Right? Like, it's no different. It's just a tool. What can we do to get started? And then also, how can I monetize this? How can I use this to my best effect when I'm trying to do something for a client and we want to just do something really badass? I need to learn the prompts to get to where I want to go, just like I know how to use the pen tool in Photoshop or Illustrator, right? That's the thinking with this. So just want to kind of like, and so what you can do is here is Eventbrite. Just go to Shirt Lab Workshop, how to get started using AI. This is going to be April the 6th, next Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sign up. It's free. Learn some stuff. So,
GSG is one of the sponsors.
Yep. So's Easy Way. So's
Easy Ways too. Yeah.
We have a whole bunch of so's jerseys. We're talking about jerseys earlier. And so this really helps. Shirt Lab, of course, is our kind of our education arm of the industry, and we'd love you to participate, join Shirt Lab Tribe, all that stuff. But we put on these little workshops to help the industry grow. So
absolutely.
Yep.
And anyway, so that's my plug.
And we're out of time.
Right. And got a couple comments to end, and then we can wrap it up here. Right. So Brian says virtual events are great, but I get interrupted and miss things.
Absolutely.
And Tony Anthony here is in Toronto, Canada.
Toronto. Well, Tony, thank you very much.
All right. Dan says, I see a slight pushback by some customers when we use AI to generate that art. When we charge art, standard production art charges for our time. Customer, if they know we use AI, could say we didn't create it. Similar to the pushback for any art charge or screen charge, they may think they own it. So do we give them the AI that we generated, the AI generated for us? Many questions. I don't know the answer to that, Dan. So, like, to me,
I do.
It's just part of your process. I don't share with them the
how you did it. Yeah. If they generated it.
Let me show you this, Dan, right? How is that any different? I was doodling some thumbnails for a new logo for the Academy the other day. These are my actual thumbnails I use goofing around, right? Yeah. Would I share this with the client and give them my index card? I don't see it as any different. So, they don't need to know your process or where that came from. All they care about is they got the result. Here's the outcome. If you're making sausage, are you giving them how much fennel you're putting in it? No, it's just part of your secret, right? So
if they know about AI art and stuff, then why didn't they generate their own and stay here? Here's the thing. Here's
learning to use the prompts. That's the idea. It's learning to use the prompts. So if you were to do it, you would give a different result. Are you going to get it so it looks like you can put it on a t-shirt? And as you notice, it's not ready for prime time. You got to go in and fix it. Like if we're doing a Mustang shirt, that pony badge on the front of the car has got to be perfect, right?
Absolutely.
So we're going to have to go in and make that, and we're going to add some type, and we're going to do some things, and we're going to adjust it or whatever. It isn't perfect. This is just you getting there, right? And of course, a year or two or three or whatever from now, it may be perfect. Right now, it's not, right? So to me, I think you need to be learning how to use this, how you're going to incorporate it, how you bring the file in. Like I did a dragon that I did a t-shirt from the other day, and I did it and I played around with it. And so it's one of these things where I'm doing that on purpose so I can teach myself the steps that I need to do to be able to do some things, right? And to me, that's kind of how I'm thinking about it, right? So,
to me, the medium doesn't matter whether you created it in Photoshop, where you cut it out in Ruby, whether you hand drew it, or you did it in AI. Does not matter.
Yeah, right. But good question.
Go ahead, Heather.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to make your life easier. For me, I'm the one that does the graphics, and I don't have time to spend hours and hours and hours. So if I can use this to get more shirts out the door, more designs approved, all for it.
Let me tell you what a time suck Midjourney is, though. So I don't know if you learning to use it. I don't know if they're saving any time, but it's a good thing, right? So Lakeisha says, "Great show, Heather. You were awesome."
Thank you.
Oh, you're awesome too.
Tony says ChatGPT's excellent for promo. I totally agree.
Yep, we've talked about that. So.
And Ray says it's interesting idea versus rendering. You own the idea. Yeah.
Cool deal.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks for attending. Please, if you're watching this as a recording, let us know that you're doing that. We always like to see who's watching the recording, because a lot of people, that's what they do. They're not here live. So love to see that. And Heather, what you got going on this weekend?
Cars and coffee. We're hoping that the winds die down where it doesn't blow our tents away, but I need to sell all these shirts that we printed. So
Yeah.
I'm excited.
And
Well,
Alan, you're traveling, right? You're driving back today?
I am. When we are done here, I'm already packed. My suitcases are right there. I'm leaving the hotel and I'm driving back home to Michigan. It'll be about a 6-hour drive.
Great.
I've been gone since Monday. I'm ready to get home, and then I have to leave. It looks like Sunday night. I got to be in Southern Ohio Monday morning.
Right.
So,
Cool.
but yeah, good stuff happened. It's been a busy week with Atlantic City and this, and then next week, and then yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks for watching. Heather, don't go anywhere. We'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a great week, everyone.